in today's episode, we're going to get right into it and talk about grounding because we all fucking need to pump our brakes spiritually, emotionally, physically, mentally, with everything going on in the world right now. I feel like a lot of us, we get stuck into the same sort of vortex with let's just stay put and wait till the world kind of smooths over. And right now, grounding has been even more so prominent for me because I feel like a lot of us witches, we get really, really stuck into the practice protection first and then work on grounding as the second step, and then everybody's like, oh, it's so fucking boring, and then they don't do it. And I've been guilty of that, not only within the occult practice but just as a witch on my own, because witchcraft can be very taxing. And when you are used to it being in your environment forever, because magic has been in my environment since I was really young, um, and it almost becomes second nature. It is second nature to me. I forget that people think it's weird or bad, but also because you're so used to it, you kind of forget that, when things seem a bit off, that you need to go outside and meditate for a bit and really connect with the earth. And it sounds hippy dippy, but we are primitive beings. We don't have to have primitive tendencies anymore. We have evolved. But I really believe that we have always been connected with the earth, even when we have been more technologically advanced. And even though all of these pop-up paper mache houses that are 7 fucking times the price that they should be 10 years ago, let alone at face value, it's alchemized and it still is of the earth, but it loses its essence and it becomes this hollow energy, this dead energy, right? You guys see that, like the cookie cutter stucco ass houses. They have fucking speakers in some suburbia areas to have nature, like, because there's no trees that produce fruit. Like, I'm going to get into it. This is us grounding. This is what the system has really fucked us over. We have a bunch of trees that create pollen downtown, in our area, in the apartments that you live in, no fucking fruit, right? So no bees, no nature, not as many birds. Like, it's just pollen, so we have allergies. It's not balanced. So then people go, fuck, I don't want to go outside. I have allergies. But in reality, if this is systematically set in place, even the trees, that is a proven thing because people have had those discussions. When I lived in Sacramento, California, I had this big meeting because I worked as a freelancer for the city newspaper for a while, and I was also a chef. Just that's nothing to phone home about. I was making $9 a fucking hour. So that doesn't mean I was anything special. And even if I was, I would still be making $2,000 on salary a month, which is why sous chef position is just a scam. Because that means you got to go in and be called in anytime you want. Salary is a fucking joke. So back to grounding. I had this meeting with the Better Business Bureau back in Sacramento, and a lot of us chefs, farmers, people wanted to get together to help the schools in impoverished areas like South Sacramento. Is not, it's not it. There's a lot of poverty there. There's a lot of kids that have never had spinach or a blueberry because the schools don't even have fucking ovens in them. I've seen this shit, like a microwave. That's all that they're given. It's not even the lunch lady's fault. That's the school budget. There was farmers and then chefs like myself that were willing to go into those areas, right, and teach the lunch ladies how to cook. There was a farmer, there were a couple, and they owned some blueberry farms. They were willing to give all of the blueberries that the store wouldn't buy, the off-looking ones, to the schools, like donate it. Like, I'm sure they'll get a tax write-off, but you can tell they had, they cared. They had grandkids and shit. And the Better Business Bureau, which isn't a government fucking thing, it's just a privatized entity that comes in and acts like they're government, and all they care about is how many people are going to visit Sacramento. So guess what they were trying to pawn this shit off for us to do? We want the downtown schools that have a lot of money to look good so we can go there. I told them they can fuck off. I literally said, hell no. I don't give a fuck. A bunch of people, look at, this is how fucking I am. I don't care if you are in a fucking suit and you have a bachelor's degree and all this shit and you act like your job is more important than it really is, and you see me, because I'm smart, so I can get away with being fucking hood at times and a bit ghetto so people can go, oh, look at her acting out of line at this big table. Absolutely. Because we need more of this shit. Because my point in that with grounding is downtown fucking looks great enough. The schools have their community gardens and all of this shit, right? But in reality, in the real reality, things like that don't exist. So when you go to a city and you see this and oh wow, oh that's all systematically set in place. So I know that this isn't a conspiracy. I fucking tried really hard as a cook because I care. I care about what I do. I can't give this shit up. I'm still doing this shit. I'm still on TikTok. I can't mind my own business and just enjoy my quiet, peaceful life, right? I still can't give it up. So when I say that this is systematic, I know for a fact it is because I've had these conversations. I'm like, you can start by planting more fucking fruit trees in the area. Because my thing is, if we go to the impoverished schools and we teach them about nutrition, then long term there'll be more sustainability. Because in 10 years, that's going to be social conditioning for kids to actually eat fucking food that's healthy, and you can make it tasty. You can make, a blueberry pie and not put as much sugar in it or all these things, right? But they don't care about sugar. The fucking food in the United States school system looks like prison food. It's the same thing. Even the schools look like it. And you're going to think, bitch, what does this have to do with grounding? A lot. Because it gets us out of our natural habitat, and then what do? We go and watch fucking nature on TV, or we go play a video game, and wow, I wish I could be in nature because we're so sterilized and so scared of a worm and scared of a fucking fly buzzing by. And I'm one of those people. Like, I grew up 50-50 because I'm from a small town and I moved to the fucking terrible city right next to it, and all of this shit leached over anyways. But I had experiences growing up I was in the mountains a lot. I've seen animals give birth. I've done all that other stuff. And then when I got into like preteen, I moved to the city and I was like, fuck all this, bump that shit. And you're in the school system and you're getting in fights and there's no nature, there's no community gardens. And I didn't even grow up in poverty. That cycle was broken for me, but you just get sucked back in. There's no running away from it. And I remember that, like, growing up and going to public schools, there's nothing but cement and concrete, man. I'm like, man, I feel like you feel like you're fucking locked up. Cause it is. Go and Google like there's photos, the difference between a public school playground and a prison yard. It's all social conditioning. And what happens is they siphon that shit away from us. We don't have nature anymore. We don't have the things that we need. Kids should be able to go and pick a fruit off of a tree. But that's going to cut into profits. And what if somebody gets food poisoning? It's so fucking stupid. It's our tax money. And my point with this, with grounding, is we have been so siphoned psychologically and just naturally from the things we need. And because of the pandemic, a lot of us, the stars aligned for that shit too, to recalibrate and break. It was bound to happen. And people are getting back into nature more. People are getting back into the things they did as a kid. And I'm doing things different. I have 2 generations of kids, right? My 2 eldest, they got to travel all over the place. They got to eat at some of the best places, not because of like, being fucking fancy and having money or anything, because I worked at a lot of these places and I knew what's good, or I had friends that worked there, and my kids were really well behaved, so I was able to take them and have those experiences. They went to art museums. They did all of these things that I wanted to do, right? And I felt good. I felt accomplished for that. And they went to parks and they did these things. But now we're gardening. And sometimes I go, man, my 2 little ones get to grow up with, like, gardening. They know they can identify a lot of plants, and they're picking peppers off and eating them straight from the garden. And we have Cuban oregano, which is kind of like a succulent, and my little 3-year-old just eats it off the branch. Like, they just eat. They're happy. They plant seeds. They understand the process. And even though my kids had experiences like that, I didn't garden, but we did science experiments, and I always had flowers around or things going on. But now we're all in nature, and it feels really good because I realized my failures as a parent being stuck in this system. I didn't want my kids to be like me and not like used to nature, because they see something and they're like, oh, what's that? Now they're out there and they get dirty and they help, and they actually really like it. I didn't have to force that. Some things I'm like, hey man, you can water the thing in the morning, you can do this. But I noticed that naturally, just having a cool kind of casual mentality, all 4 of my kids, they are all into plants now. Like my son, my 17-year-old, he can identify most of the plants in the backyard. And that kid, trust me, he's one ear out the other. I have smart kids, but I know because I was them. I see all of my idiosyncrasies in them. But my point is we feel like we have a fast-paced lifestyle right now because we are struggling in the system. But we have a slower life too, because we can just wake up and look at the plants, and there's a new flower in the garden, or there's something to harvest so we can make some jam or whatever we need to do. And it's really nice. And I ground. we get into the habit of just grounding because of spiritual stuff, but we really are supposed to be out in nature. It boosts our immune system when we're just on the ground without any shoes on, and it helps with blood pressure levels. It helps if you're near pine. It helps with allergies if you're near pine pollen. Like, get pine pollen for real, or go near the beach if you live close to the beach. The salty air, that clears out your lungs. That helps with asthma. All of these things are systematic. We're not supposed to have a bunch of pollen around us from a bunch of different trees that don't go together. Like, I, now that I know a lot about plants, I see shit that shouldn't be planted outside, let alone next to something else. It's just not needed. But there's no fucking fruit. There's not that many flowers, and if they are, they're not medicinal. There's a lot of shit that for decoration, there's a lot of stuff there's no real value to it, you know, in terms of plant decoration in suburbia and shit. But there are weeds that we're told are pests, and they have a lot of value to it. I know a lot of weeds like plantain leaf. One of my friends told me about, and I learned all kinds about it. Dandelions, all of these things that we can identify, right? You think they're just a weed, but they're actually full of nutrients and help keep you healthy and alive. And it's like, what the fuck? But, you know, allegedly a Monsanto, Roundup, who owns Roundup, and they changed their name, they're the ones that marketed that shit, that dandelions were nothing but a pest. But our grandparents knew fucking better, because during the Great Depression, when these same families fucked them over like they are us in different ways, they told them the same thing, but they survived off that shit. You know, if you ever talk to people who survived in the Great Depression, they'll tell you the shit they had to see, the things they had to eat. It's terrible. We got it made still. We're all sitting here triggered over stupid shit. Like, I have it fucking made, so that's why I keep my head clear. And that's where grounding comes in. And I'm going to get to the fun spiritual occult stuff in a minute. But what I want to say is, right now, collectively, we're all feeling this pressure, and we're all angry. We're all frustrated. No matter how much constitution you have, like, I am like ready for fucking war. I'm like, let's bring it on. This is an opportunity for me to level up, so I am working, and I give myself purpose every fucking day. Like, we have a routine. Me and my kids can just chill. My husband doesn't want me to work. He's happy for me to have a little side income and wants me to just enjoy life, because he hates that women have to work so hard, and he's not a chauvinistic. I got a really good man. He cooks, he helps me out. So I feel like I'm sick and tired of explaining myself, and I'm not going to anymore. But it's just, I think TikTok just fucked with me, man, because everybody's miserable on that goddamn app, I swear. But anyways, he doesn't like that I'm doing all this shit. Like, he supports it, and he's proud of me, because he says, I'm happy I have a woman that could be a good point man and not fucking be useless. You know what I mean? Like, he likes that I am, you know, able to handle myself as much as possible, but I still seek his counsel, and we still help each other. But it's a lot. I'm not trying to brag. Like, a lot of motivational shit, I've lived and breathed all this stuff trying to get my shit together. I'm up at 4:30 in the morning, and I do this and da 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 da. A lot of those dudes don't have kids. A lot of those dudes have a wife that's doing all the shit, and that's the reality, and that's great, because they're still good providers. You know what I mean? But right now, I'm fucking taking the heat of it. My husband's working his ass off. He's hardly home. It sucks right now, and they don't want to pay them overtime. The companies are trying to like swindle through that. It's really fucked. People at his work, he's seen fights. People are breaking down. And the best thing we can do in this like unnatural system is to ground and get back into nature. And if you can't be barefoot in nature because you're afraid of pebbles and rocks and ants biting your fucking ass and all these things, like, trust me, get a walking stick. That's what all of the druids use. They use it to ground. That's why we have staves. When some people feel connected to using a staff as their magical tool, it's to help when you have shoes on to connect with the earth. It helps channel from the ground to your hand. And we need that around us. That's why, as witches, we like having sticks and twigs, and people think, oh, you've got a bunch of clutter and junk. To me, it's energy. I have rocks in my house. I have plants. I have water. I have earth and dirt and sticks and leaves. It's energy into this sterile ass system, and I feel calmer. I don't know how the fuck I'm able to do this. Some days I cry. I do. I wake up between 4 and 5:30 most days, 6 if I'm lucky. And sometimes we don't go to bed till midnight, and it's nothing but chaos all day long. And I've got really good kids, man. I have really, really well behaved. My two little ones are 2. They're just younger. They're 3 and 4. But my 2 eldest, they're very respectful and well behaved, but that's a balancing thing too, because I don't want them to be too respectful and just, yes, sir, no, sir, 3 bags full, sir. But at the same time, they're driving me fucking nuts because of time management. We're just there in teenage years, right? Because teenagers fucking do the bare minimum that you're told, and they get it autopilot and it's halfway done, and then I got 50,000 things. So there's boundaries and things I got to deal with, and I got to go ground because they're gonna make me lose my mind. They tell me, you make me flip out again and go fucking psychosis, and we just laugh about it. But I'm like, fuck, man, get it together, you know. So I talk to my kids. Right now it's time management, and as all the stress of a parent, when you got this and this and this and this and this, and you're in a bunch of different directions, you really think that meditating and fucking siphoning my energy more is going to always help with that? No, my ass is leaving, and I'm gonna go for a fucking walk and clear my head so I don't go postal on everybody's ass. Because when you are sleep deprived and you're holding down a house and you're homesteading and you're doing all these things, and people will make it seem like it's so fucking easy, hell no, I'm not the one that's gonna tell you that this shit's easy. However, it's rewarding, and I wouldn't change it for anything. I've got purpose now, and I've got more energy, and I've got health and clarity. But it's not because the demons are coming and saving my life and handing everything to me. It's because they let me fucking fail, and they've let me fall on my ass so much. I'm like, fuck, I really have no choice here but to take all this fucking weight and just level up. But in order to maintain that, it's not about, oh, I gotta go meditate and clear my head. Go and do that outside and stop. Like, I go out in the cold outside sometimes. You know, I had just got finished with a lot of heavy shadow work that's been fucking me up this past year because I don't like facing shit. I don't like facing shit, not because I'm afraid of reliving stuff, because these fucking people that did this shit to me are not worth my energy, and I don't wish any harm. So I get angry about that, right? So I was battling myself, you know, going through all this, and the thing that helped me out wasn't crying to Lucifer and crying to Belial and needing an energetic, you know, hug, because they'll give that stuff to you. They know. But it's going out in nature and veiling and fucking connecting with all of the elements outside, and not making it so ritualistic that you sound fucking like a goofball, but actually just tuning the world out, getting off your fucking phone. Leave the fucking phone at home once in a while, or leave it in your car. Like, you don't need, we are fine without these things. Everybody's got this thing going on. They got this thing, and we're all under fucking constant surveillance. We're all just angry because we were so disconnected from our natural habitat. So I like to ground. That's why I don't want to be part of the system anymore. I'm not interested. I just have no interest. I come in and out of it to go run bills, but I just see how everybody's worn down, and I go, I can't imagine being like a typical boomer, and my life is nothing but just consumerism and working. And you know, here in Australia it's the same thing. In America it's called the Aussie battler way. Like, we're proud of struggle, we're proud of the Aussie battler struggle, so we're gonna drink ourselves to death and blow our money on fucking stupid shit like gambling, and then we're gonna fucking have a chip on our shoulder. But that's what a man does, and that's all these insecure broken fucking dudes, and it's because of the system, who do nothing but hide behind their bottle and fucking they do work hard. And the ones that don't work hard, I don't blame them. You know, it's this sort of shit that I see. And the best thing that you can do is ground yourself. Get fucking away from the stupid shit. Take off your fucking visor shirt, your worker shirt. Everybody wears visor shirts here because there's construction. It's a hard-working country. But it's glorified like it is in the U.S., where we do the same thing. And it's like George Carlin says, it's the American dream because you got to be asleep to fucking believe it. And what we need to actually do is fucking take a nap in nature. Like, seriously, that has been what's helped me get through this shit. I wake up really early every day. I do all this Muay Thai shit. I've got 2 kids that don't have a club right now, and I have to fucking show up so they can, because they'll slack off. They're kids. I've been there. We've been there. How many of us, you know, I'm like, here's the pivotal point. And in terms of that, in terms of connecting with who you are, we get so stuck in our trauma and our victimhood and the system. The system has us so fucking connected to it. And we have to break free and ground. Not just break free and become enlightened and fucking fly up to space, you know, and then think that that's going to solve our problems. And then we break and become psychotic. It's not. The spiritual shit is really heavy. And that's going to really bring me into occultism. Because with my occult practice, there are times I don't have a choice in this. I don't have a choice if I have a good night's sleep or not. Because demons, fallen angels, infernals, if you have lessons and there's things you need, you're going to have a couple sleepless nights. It's kind of like not in the same abusive sense, but like, because in the military, the U.S. military, I'm a civilian. I've never been there. I've seen a lot of shit. Videos where they break you down completely, right? When you join the military, they start shark attacking you. I've seen videos where the kids are crying home and everybody's fucking yelling at them. Those dudes that are stuck as staff sergeants aren't fucking happy. They're loaded when they do that shit. I've known insecure fucking soldiers, dude. They're the most dangerous ones because they're fucking not happy with themselves. So I'm not trying to say that that's what infernals do for me. However, there are times I have really vivid dreams and experiences and astral things, and I can't shut it off. And I'm like, fuck. There are times that happens. So I do counter that by grounding. And I'm not saying it's always exhausting, it's just like seasons. In all honesty, seasons of lessons I'm learning. And I do get told when I do readings with Belial in particular, like I want to know more about myself or more about this one thing, he'll tell me, you're not ready yet. And sometimes I'll challenge that and I'll understand that it's going to be a struggle, and it's not the ego, it's the acceptance. Like, I really know he'll tell me you're not ready because of this. Sometimes it's a no, because my life is, it's not hard, but it's challenging. In order to make it easy, it's challenging. That's the best way I want to put it. I don't like feeling sorry for myself. I think that all of us have had it fucking difficult in a lot of ways. I don't care who you are, what race you are, what demographic. All of us have had it fucking hard. We really have. And we can't sit here and like, oh, my trauma's worse than yours. Like, shut the fuck up. Let's go out in nature and just like be humans for a bit and see people who do live. That's why people who are farmers, not farmers for the system, but for themselves, small farmers are the happiest people alive demographically. They're out in nature all day. I'm not talking about the type of farmers I knew that were working for the system and being underpaid and completely overworked, and some of them, like, being introduced to methamphetamines. That's the California dream. That's California dreaming, in all honesty, not this Hollywood bullshit. I didn't know any of that shit growing up. I saw that shit. That's what I saw. Like, especially where I came from, that's all you see. And it fucks with you in a different non-victimhood way, because you're like, why is that still happening? Why are these people doing backbreaking work and they're getting paid nothing under the table, while this fucking farmer asshole's selling an apple for $4 each? How do you justify that? There's so many battles, silent battles, that just in that sense. So I'm not talking about those sorts of farm workers. So, people who want to take that in consideration will go, oh, see, they're happier, so it's good that somebody does that job. Because they're taking our jobs, but I fucking don't want to do it. They're fucking happy. That's America. As a biracial woman that's had to deal with that shit on both sides, and just see it and observe it and kind of live through it, it's fucked. That whole argument back and forth, it's crazy to me. So what I really mean is farmers who are self-sustaining, work for themselves. There's a lot of channels like on YouTube what we like to watch, from people from different parts of the world, and it's all these little viejas, these little grandmas that are cooking and doing things like a lot of grandmas did, right? There's people that still live like that, and it's a slower life. It's hard work. I like to do that sort of stuff at home, and it's not like I always want to, but I need to because my family depends on it. And right now, like I'm just trauma dumping. Groceries are brutal. My family, we're getting out of this slowly because of content creating and because of just being resourceful, and it's a good opportunity. But man, it's fucking depressing. I put my orders in for the groceries, and I'm getting like legumes. I don't buy meat unless it's on sale. Like all these things, right? We substitute with produce from our garden. Like, I don't even buy cheese a lot of the time. We just make it if it's cheaper, because it's like getting more expensive to make certain things, which is crazy. It's a nightmare. On one end, 5 kilos of rice is $19, but 1 kilo of the same rice is $1.40. And it's like, oh, but next week it'll change. The 1 kilo rice will be $3 a bag, and the fucking 5 kilos are $9. That's literally a thing. And then the opposite store will have the fucking opposite this week, because they're both owned by the same fucking firms. And people here are still thinking, oh, I'm just going to go to... We have Coles and Woolworths here in Australia. Only 2 grocery stores besides Aldi, and that doesn't count. I'm sorry, but Aldi does not count. It's a discount fucking store with no options. It's fine for what it is, but there's 2 major stores. And the investors own both of them. But people think that we have a fair system and they're going to support the other fucking corrupt store. And instead of just getting the fuck in nature. But people are also very tired. They have long ass, draining, mundane jobs, whether you're at a desk or out doing physical labor for low pay for some asshole, dickhead, fucking upper management that doesn't deserve that position, but his fucking friend owns the company, so he knows better, and he's disconnected. Everybody is just trying to survive. But that asshole knows that he doesn't have any other option, so he's got a chip on his shoulder because his friend is making him look fucking bad, and he's got to vicariously live through that for the rest of his fucking life because he doesn't have a pair of balls to fucking pull out of his ass and go sit in nature and think about his choices and go, fuck, man, I could do better than this. I don't want to live in this dude's shadow. That's parents fucking gave him the company, or maybe he built it from the ground up, because there are people who do. But the majority of people don't. The majority of people don't. I've had fucking handouts. I was living in fucking gang territory, no fucking chance, working my ass off. Working my ass off. No bullshit. Not getting into trouble, nothing. And I had a fucking Jewish grandparent, estranged, that left me a little bit of money. I got the fuck out. I went to of the hood. I moved to a better area. I bought a car. I went to school. The school that I wanted to go and I couldn't go to. I couldn't even leave to go to. And you know how much it cost me to do the bare minimum just to get out of the area I was in? It cost $10,000. That's not including getting a car and all this. I mean, making sure that you have your stuff set up in the new place, and you know, because I didn't have a job lined up in the new place. I was in my early 20s. How the fuck? I have no life experience. I'm doing my best to survive. And, you know, I'm not going to talk about other people's stories, but I wasn't doing that on my own. But for fuck's sakes, it was just a broken system. It sucks. I was on food stamps. I had to do all this shit. I didn't have time to be out in fucking nature. I was struggling. So I know what people are going through, especially if they're still there in America, and that shit's even worse than it was 15 years ago, that like when I got to leave. I'm in a small country. Australia is a small nation. It's just large landmass, and most of it is useless. There's granite mines. It's just not, there's no terrain. You can't survive. It's the soil's clay, full of sodium, and there's nothing there. So everybody lives on the coast, but there are less people in Australia than there is in the state of California, legally documented. Okay? So it's a very small place, and people don't think that here. I have it easier here because it was quieter. It was more peaceful. People like seem to live their life, and now it's just even worse than ever. And now it's just like people are really fucking struggling and breaking down. And my point in this is nobody's going to the parks anymore in my area. Because when I go and I take my little ones to the park, it's full of trash now. I lived in a peaceful little suburb, not like a cookie cutter, like just older houses and quiet and nice. And it's full of trash now. And people are going, they're working harder. They don't have energy to go in nature, all these things, right? It's fucked. So I have to make that paradise in my small space, in my backyard. And I don't have a huge yard. But for fuck's sakes, it's been helping. We have to ground and connect. People are not going to change for us. People aren't going to, you know, this world, everybody's fighting and going to destroy themselves. I see it. I feel it happening. We're already in it, and we're so blind we don't realize that we're already at war. We're allowing this shit to happen. But a lot of people aren't connecting with the earth. They're not going out, and they're outside for a walk because they got to decompress, but they're not appreciating the trees. And it sounds stupid, but it's true. Because at one point in our history, it wasn't stupid to do that. It was not stupid. It's become a novelty to go and like hug a tree. Go connect with the fucking tree. Yeah, I know some dumb bitch is probably going to be over dramatic about it. But why? What about all the indigenous people throughout culture, throughout everywhere? Throughout Europe, throughout Eurasia, throughout South America, North America, indigenous people exist everywhere. It's not just a certain color of spectrum of skin. We all come from those of hardcore ancestors wherever you are. I'm from everywhere in the world. I'm American. I'm from everywhere. My grandparents were from all different parts of the world. How lucky, man, I got to have all that exposure for real. However, this isn't about that, you know, oh, you white bitch are trying to say you're indigenous. I don't fucking care about your stupid fucking shit, your battles. I care about the real issues within that, but I don't care about all this pissing contest people are so stuck on doing. They think they're fighting the bigger fight because you're on fucking TikTok getting triggered. Fuck off. All of us need to shut the fuck up and go out into nature and remember who the fuck we were, because you know what? In nature, we're not going to be tripping off of that. This world is really falling apart and it's breaking down, and Earth's pissed. She's fucking pissed. She's one of those mothers that has been sitting there waiting for you to fucking get it together and giving you a chance, and you're sitting there dancing like a fucking goofball, pushing her buttons, and we're all guilty of it. We're all really tired. The thing is they gaslit us and got us to a point to where we're broken down, but we need convenience, right? Like I guess this fucking thing's gonna be in a landfill. The best I can do is just reuse it a few times and then make myself feel better. But in all honesty, how many things are we doing that are really fucking this up? And we can justify, well, I need a break. I need to go shopping. I need to do, yeah, I know. That's cool. That's great because I feel the same way. But in reality, we're fucking it up. We really have fucked it. I don't think we all need to go back to our primitive state and not have modern technology or convenience. I think we can do a bit better. I think we can do a bit better. And I understand time and energy are literally of the essence. Energy is of the essence. And we need to take that back. When I'm out in nature, I don't know if it's 5 minutes or an hour. Like, I will go out, I don't care. I listen to, are we getting hungry? Are we getting tired? Is it time to, your body, you naturally will know. We sit here and I got alarms on my fucking phone and I know this time and I got to keep time because, right now my kids are going to leave in an hour. So I got some time to do this and blah, 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 blah. Like we get stuck in that. I think we have to find a balance with that, but we need to really disconnect because we're breaking down and people don't see that. My spiritual practice is really hard, but I'm not trying to feel good about all the hard lessons that I put myself through because we'll glorify that. That's an Aussie battler thing like I just talked about, right? I work really fucking hard, but I was working hard out of ego in the past, and now I have to channel it and do it out of necessity because I gotta really unpack a lot of shit, and I gotta keep my kids' culture up. I have to keep a good influence for them because this is just all on me right now. And I can't feel sorry for myself, and I give myself space to break down once in a while because I feel very alone. I feel the whole pressure of all of my children on my shoulders, on my back, and I don't have anybody else besides my husband. That's fine with me. It really is because I'm going to fucking make the best of this shit. My kids feel really bad for me at times. They do. They're like, man, they try, and I tell them, no, I'm not the main character. That is not your problem. You're not going to be like me and start taking on my fucking burdens and bullshit and then end up taking over when I break down and then being resentful and fucked up from it. And then people trying to keep you down because of where your place is. You go and you live your best life, but we have to communicate and we have to be understanding about. That's all I ask. That's all I say. So the point of that is what helps me get through all this isn't just resilience and all this shit and blah, 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 and ego and demons. It's I go and I ground. I give myself space. I take that time for myself. I'm not trying to cover myself up. When I'm in nature, I don't care about how I look. I don't care about anything. I know that I just start to feel better. I start to feel good. If you're doing heavy work, like heavy curse work, and you can't be outside barefoot or, all these things, get some clean mud, or buy some earth. If you're not sure about the soil in your backyard, whatever, just make mud and put it on your arm or something. Keep the earth on you. I'll do that. If you ever see me with like a dirt on my arm or something, that means that I'm doing something really heavy and I'm not able to ground or to try to maintain that. It's kind of like, when you're exercising, if you're going for a long, long run, right? Let's say you're going to go for a big marathon. You still need to have some protein bars and electrolytes and things. You can't just go and do that and gas out unless you got to, because nature will fucking put you in those situations once in a while, right? You have to still maintain. You have to still nourish yourself. And food can be very grounding too. Oats are very, very grounding. I tell people to eat oats if you feel like you need to ground. To drink red clover if you're doing heavy negative work. Red clover is really, really grounding. I grow it and I drink it as a tea. It's great for your hormones. Red clover is one of those botanicals that you can drink every day. And you can make herbal steeps out of it and have it in your daily thing. So it's one of those botanicals that's totally fine to drink on the daily. And that will help keep you grounded as well. But we really need more than just tea and overnight oats. We need to be out in nature. And I sound preachy as fuck, but we feel so good when we see beautiful flowers and something new and interesting, no matter how much of a city slicker you are. I know what the fuck it's like because, like I said, I might have grown up and seen farm stuff, but that was early childhood, and I ended up not wanting to see. I was like, oh, at certain points in later adolescence, I was like, oh, hell no, there's bugs and it's hot. Like that's where I ended up, and that was my own shit, but it's the system. It really is. It sounds like an easy scapegoat, like I'm trying to say it's not my fault I had weak constitution, it's the system. No, that's not what I'm trying to say, but it's true, like we're responsible for our own shit, but why are we doing all this? Why are we stressed out? Why are we angry at our spouses? Why are we angry at our parents? Why are we not talking to who and who and who? Seriously, what the fuck? Everybody's been fucked over by this. Grounding always seems, when people explain it in magic, and I've probably done this too, boring. Like dirt. That's the damage that's been done. But when you start to really get back to who you are and you're not being a fucking dork about it, like my roots, shut up. Like come on. But seriously, you go outside and you feel the dirt and it's like this feels right. Pulling weeds and doing all these things is tedious and yard work. I'm not always like wanting to be out in the garlic frolicking around like a fucking bumblebee. There are times I'm like, fuck, I gotta go do all this shit and I gotta get it done because these plants are outgrowing their space, or, the weather's changing here. So the seasons are changing here in Australia. It's winter time now. And I had to move all of my sun loving plants to the area of my place where the sun is hitting and has the most energy, because my backyard doesn't get much sun in wintertime and it super sucks because in Brisbane, in Queensland, Australia, we are in the subtropics and it's warm in wintertime. Like during the day, it'll be like 70 plus Fahrenheit, like 26 Celsius. But then at night, it'll get down to like 8. 0 is freezing in Celsius and then 32 in Fahrenheit, if I'm still getting that right. So it gets really, really cold. And my Californian ass is not used to the cold as much. I can handle it, but I prefer warm weather. Even though I like to, oh gosh, actually no. You know what? I'm just never happy because when it's warm and sunny and I'm like, yes, the sun and the vibes and swimming and barbecue, I'm like, fuck, I want hoodie weather and I want my oversized hoodies and I want my beanies and I want to dress up. And then when it's cold, I'm like, oh, I want to go into the sun because it's depressing back here. So I'm never happy. But wintertime, I do get to dress up more, so that's the exciting part, is I get to wear all of my fun things and leggings and clothes, because you can't here. Most of the year, it's too goddamn hot to wear anything but shorts and a tank top, and that's it. Like no makeup, nothing. So I like makeup, and I love putting my face on and doing all these things, but in the summertime, I'm just like a melted fucking snow cone. There's no point. The lessons that I have learned because of the pandemic really have to do with nature. Before we went on lockdown, my husband and I were really getting back into being active because we were starting to try to break out of that. We started urban homesteading like a year and a half before lockdown, and which is weird to us because we were talking about the end of days and Agenda 21, and we're big conspiracy theorists, and he will go on for days, man. And I have to say something though. There are times where I'm like, man, you are fucking out there. I respect your opinion, but I don't agree. He's been right about literally fucking most things that have happened. This is gonna happen, this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen. They're gonna start fucking panic buying something stupid at the store. I'm serious. And it made sense, but I'm not one of those people. I'm like, 50% conspiracy theorist, but I think it's good so people can have, they're thinking, their wheels are turning. I'm not against conspiracy theorists. Some of them are really bad conspiracies and some of them are very dangerous. That is the laws of fucking polarity. At least people are thinking for themselves because they're forced to. We're trying to figure ourselves out because all of us, no matter if you're radical right, radical left, or like me, don't give a fuck, or like people who super don't give a fuck, because that's not even true for me. I actually give a fuck, but I don't know what fucking there's no sides. It's a lonely feeling when you're not sure, you agree with certain things about the left and certain things about the right, but then there's a whole fucking deep dive on both of those sides, and you're like, man, this is all just fucked. Just throw in the towel. I take it all back. Let me do my thing. Like, we really are struggling. I'm really glad that I'm not in the United States right now, and it sucks because I get really homesick. I miss my culture, I miss my food, I miss my surroundings. I tell my husband, I feel like you don't know who I am, because when you move to a foreign country, you start to adapt and you start to kind of lose yourself without trying to. It's because you're not trying. I don't try to sound Australian, but I hear just by editing this podcast that I have a lot of influx in my dialogue now that I can't control, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, and I'm not trying to be over here like, oh, I make fucking this. I literally can hear certain ways that I pronounce things. There's a draw to them, there's a change. My husband too, he says tomato, and I've caught myself saying tomato. Like in our two youngest children, they're just interchanging. They sound American, but they sound Australian, and they kind of go in between things. So as a result, you start to feel like you're not sure who the fuck you are anymore, in this weird way, in this weird kind of like, are you gaslighting yourself? Because I think other people that are foreigners too, and I've seen Americans where they are so proud of being American, and they got to just make it their fucking personality trait, and that's all there is about them, and they're the American, they're the token American, and it's like, stop. I think those are the people that had no culture in America, because let's be honest, America's just it's a fucking corporation. I don't know how to feel. Like, I'm proud to be who I am, I guess, but it's like America is, I always call it the divided states of AmeriCorp. I've never seen America as this one nation country. We're not one nation. This is such a bullshit lie. We're the most divided fucking just broken down system, and everybody else in the world just sees the nice things. They see the movies and the music and the media and the comics and this and that. Yeah, America's got really great entertainment. It's all fucking backed by child porn. It's all backed by fucking corrupt greed. And then we're all desperate and fucking starving to death emotionally and mentally and physically and all this thing. So we buy it. Well, what else are we going to do? We hate our jobs. Let's go fucking buy some more Marvel. Well, Marvel's owned by Disney, and it's all fucked. I don't care. I gotta relive something that I was exposed to in childhood, because, like, I love X-Men. I was a fucking super X-Men fan as a kid. I used to collect the cards, the comics, all of this shit, man. I used to watch X-Men cartoons every fucking Saturday morning. And there's a part of you, especially us that grew up in the 90s. I was born in the 80s. I was born in 84. I was a child and adolescent of the 90s. So I had capitalism all fucking good. Oh man, everything was blue. Everything was glow in the dark. I fucking had all of these, and it was cheap too, so it was like all of these things. And then in adolescence, I worked. I worked as a kid because I wanted to. I like to make money and buy stuff, and I was like the maintenance girl in my apartments from 12 to 14, and I babysat. Then I got a job at Subway for a few years. I did. I didn't have to. For me, I wanted to get the fuck out of my environment for sure. That was a big reason why I was never home, because if I was, it was not good. But another reason is it was incentive. I get to all these things that are marketed to me now I can afford, and I had no fucking good spending habits. I blew all of my money as soon as I got it. My justification is, well, I paid for all of my important stuff, and now I can burn this on music and concerts and all these things. Pot, that was the reality. It was like coffee, pot, and sneaking off to shows and just band merch. But, and that's fine. I don't regret that at all. So, but as a result, you don't ground as much. That's the thing, is I got so sucked into all of that, like music and this and this, and which is fine. But man, you start to really lose yourself, don't you? We lose ourselves. Because in ancient societies, we had music, and we loved jewelry and beautiful things, and we learned cosmetics from the fallen angels. We learned how to master all of these skills. We learned how to fight, and they taught us this. Like, the book of Enoch talks about this shit, and people go, oh, those fucking dirty angels. It's like, well, why are you wearing makeup, Karen? Because Azazel taught us that. Azazel, who's a fucking warrior, taught us. Can you imagine if he was a makeup guru? He would be fucking smoking all of these fake ass bitches. Seriously. But he taught us how to glamour magic, to feel empowered, because we deserve to use our body as a canvas, as long as we're not trying to cover anything up. I'm not trying to say what you should do, actually, but some people can get really toxic with it, especially with body modification. I'm huge on tattoos. I just don't have money for them. I would be fucking sleeved already. That's I've been wanting sleeves since I was 13, and I will fucking do that. But for me, there's metaphors to it. There's honor, there's an unspoken language. Some people just want to express themselves and be colorful. Some people are trying to cover something up. But the thing is, it's our body. We should be able to be a canvas as we will. And that's how we ground. We connect with each other. When you connect with a tattoo artist and they're good and they're interested in making something beautiful on your body, and it's not just for their own ego, that's a connection. I've had that, and then I've had, stupid people blast me, and you don't feel the connection. Like there's all kinds of different ways that humans communicate, and we've lost that essence, because now we think, oh, I want to go get a tattoo. Where's that ink come from? The earth? What about that person's creativity, that energy that's going to be on your body? We don't think about those experiences. The ink comes from the earth, right? It comes from nature. Sometimes it comes from like squid. I don't know if that's been weaned out. But what about the person who's connecting with your imagination to make that come to a reality? It used to be ceremonial. Tattooing used to mean, it still does, obviously, but some people, and I'm like 50-50, I'm not trying to tell people what kind of tattoos to get. Please do not think that. The thing is, we'll go, oh, I want to go get a tattoo, and go in, okay, it's going to be this, okay, just do it. And then it's like, oh yeah, cool, look how cool I am. And it's like, that's not what it's about. I like to go get, when I have gotten ink done, and it's like a meditative thing for me. You know what I mean? It's almost like a spiritual thing for me, like just for what I have. And that connection is what we need with each other. We need to stay grounded. But we see grounding is very boring. Like, oh, okay, yeah. A lot of newcomers to magic, who there's an essence to witchcraft that people glamorize a lot because of the media. And I understand that seduction, but you have to also understand that that's not what it's about. There's an energy to candles for sure, and to incense, and to the mysticism, and to knowledge that you don't know where it came from when it's coming out of yourself. Like for me, I don't know where fucking half of this comes from sometimes. I'm like, am I bullshitting myself? Am I just fucking winging it? There's something in me that I know I trust, and it pours out. It's not just from my life experiences. I've just always known. My past lives have always known. And we connect that way. However, because we're so desperate and we're so stuck in this shit, we will see somebody who's a mystic, and we will gravitate toward the mysticism to escape Earth. We're not supposed to be doing that. We're supposed to be connected here on Earth and exploring and trying new foods and trying new things. Like, how many of us forgot about that? That's what we're always searching for. New art, different, types of food and different plants. But the thing is now, because of the dopamine system that they got us stuck in, we need more and more and more. We can't even watch a 10-minute video now. All the kids these days, my kids aren't, because I didn't let them have fucking social media. They didn't even have phones till a few years ago. They just used my phone if they needed something. I kept them, and I explained exactly why, and I showed them why, and they understood. Like, that's my conversation with my kids. Now that they're older, they can if they want to, and they do for certain things, but because I gave them opportunity. I say, you earned privacy and respect, and you're mature. You can do those things, and it's not appropriate at this age to tell them no. But when they were 12, 13, 14, not in my fucking house, and it wasn't, and they knew. And it wasn't, oh man, they didn't care because they weren't even in this system. And I even had to tell them too, man, I can sit here and brainwash you to believe whatever the fuck I want to. I need you to know that that's not okay. Because right now we're in this, this weird system that I've been trying to keep them out of. I've homeschooled them their whole lives. Like, you guys have no idea how fucking hard I tried to keep them out of this shit. And now that this is all hitting the fan, I'm like, thank fuck, because everybody made me feel like I was doing the wrong thing. I was robbing these kids of not putting them into the public school and all these things. But for fuck's sakes, I don't take pride like, haha, I was right and you're wrong. I'm just like, fuck thank fuck I listened to myself for this one thing. Because those two individuals are very spiritual and they're in nature and they ground and they still have their vices. They still have their issues and we talk about them like how I am. They are way more than I am. I'm the fucking messed up mom that has to tell them everything. I had to tell my kids because they're older now, all the fucking tea that's appropriate for them to know. Anything that they've asked that I've done, I've been honest about. I'm not like explicit about certain things for sure. They know that I've done drugs. They know who introduced me to cocaine. They know who, and I've only done cocaine a few times, but I have to tell them what environment that came from. I have to explain these things so they can make better choices because I made a lot of good choices because I had certain things explained to me. My point in being is I kept them out of the system because I saw how fucked it was and because I was in those schools and it got worse. All these kids are kicking and screaming. These kids don't need Adderall. These kids do not need Adderall. You know what they need? They need to go outside and fucking run around. There is no way in hell. I have a autistic little one with ADHD and OCD. You think I'm going to put him in this fucking system so they can tell me, give your kid Adderall, or we're going to make sure that you're going to be charged with child abuse in certain states in America. Please don't think that I'm hating on you if you're on Adderall. Please understand, I don't want my 5-year-old on Adderall because he's a fucking 5-year-old boy and doesn't want to sit down and take a test for 8 hours. Like, that's the reality in these schools. I'm sorry, at 6. Like, I had my kids in a charter school and they try to pull that shit. Charter school is when you have them like 2 days a week and it's a homeschool environment and then you homeschool the rest of the time. So my kids were in theater and they had all these classes and Spanish class and they had students, but it was very small until the fucking crooked ass principal moved them into a shopping center and then started having 30 kids per classroom. All right? And then started to redirect the fucking curriculum to a privatized curriculum that was antiquated from the 1930s and it was funded by the Clinton administration and now that's what we use, better known as Common Core. The Rockefellers funded that shit. Go and look into what your kids are doing. Seriously. Since my petty ass always had to be combative, that's why I did all this shit. Not because I'm some super duper fucking genius, because I live this shit and I care about my kids are the reason why I am alive. I would be in prison or dead if I didn't become a young mom. And I'm not saying go have a kid to do that. I'm saying I had the desire. I was like happy to have babies and I wanted 6 kids when I was younger. I wanted to be like a homeschooling crunchy hippie mom and just smoke pot and raise babies. That's all I really want to my core. Now I'm doing that, but the system is like we have to level the fuck up at the same time. And the best way to do that is to be in nature. I forage, I produce things with my kids, we process things, I have them in the kitchen with me because they want to. I don't even have to force them. My daughter really has taken like a liking to herbalism on her own. And I'm like, man, anytime that you want to, let's go. But sometimes I make her because, youngsters like to do the fun thing and then go fuck off when it's like all the tedious shit. I'm like, no, we got to sterilize bottles and do this and that. But then they like, man, this is a really good experience. So I'm not, how my lifestyle is now, it was not overnight. I know people see the videos, all my herbs, all my this, all my that. It took a lot. All of those herbs I have got a few apothecaries that took me 2 years of just saving little bits of clary sage and little fairy roses and drying them. And then I finally get a jar. Like, it was fucking annoying at first. Because I'm like, fuck, I want more abundance like everybody else. Like, because I had so many failures at gardening. I had failures. There was no fucking bees. All the bees are dead in Australia. There's just all this shit. And I'm like, for fuck's sakes, man, no bees too? Like, we laugh about it. I'm like, I felt gaslit one year. This past summer too. I was like, man, I feel gaslit. I had very fucking little success in certain areas. What the hell? And it was because there's no fucking bees. So we're just planting more flowers, more wild flowers. Native wild flowers. Make sure they're native so you don't fuck up the ecosystem where you are. Make nature happen. A lot of people are doing that too. If you follow shit online, like people are planting shit in local parks. They're planting There's one dude in America, he's just spitting watermelon seeds and there's hella watermelons. Let him take them out and just keep doing it. That's a really good idea in my opinion. And you know what? People might think, or one day if this podcast goes anywhere, the government might, oh, she's a fucking danger to society. Then fucking ask yourself, why am I a danger to society? Because I run with the devil? The devil fucking opened my eyes. God wants to keep my eyes shut and keep my hands fucking open, begging him for anything. I'm not going to beg on my knees to anything. I didn't ask to be created. I didn't ask for this shit. This isn't a fucking gift. Like, no, it's not. I would have been cool floating around in different dimensions in space if that's the case, if this God is real, this false fucking Yahweh God. No, he wants me at war with myself because he's a war god. So that's all we are. We're at war with ourselves and war with each other and war, literal war. And guess who's profiting off of it? The same fucking people. Some of them are descendants of King Solomon. Look into it. Oh, fuck, I sound crazy. We take back our earth. And we ask ourselves, why is this government property? Who's paying for this? Our tax money? Who's paying for, well, this is government land. What does that mean? Who decided that? After they bullied people out of their own fucking areas, like, seriously. At some point in history, are we gonna, like, grow a pair? And I'm not trying to be antsy about, like, starting this or, it's not even coming from there. It's just like a logical thing. Why can't we vote on having lemon trees in our downtown areas or in our parks? And why can't we, like, vote and say, hey, nobody can fucking sue if they get sick from a lemon at the park? You can't sue because that would be an easy solution. That's not the problem. It's not public safety and health for eating. I've heard it. Like, I've had these conversations and I've seen this justification from government, from parliament here too. They're fucking just gross out of their minds. The problem is some people will be desperate and fucking take all the lemons and fuck it up for everybody and sell them. And then other people will be able to have, how many lemons do we really need? Like, I can use a lot of lemons. I can, if somebody gave me 10 fucking pounds of lemons, I promise you I'll have those processed in 2 days and I'll have a lot of shit made out of them. I can make a lot of stuff out of a lemon. However, if I had, like, abundance of fruit trees around the area, do you really think that we would have this mentality to want to take all those lemons for ourselves? It's like a thing you have to deprogram out of. And we can't control what other people do. I can't change the world. I don't want to. I've tried to already. I've tried to change my world by telling other people all the bullshit I saw, and it made sense. I'm usually right about shit. When people ask me, oh, what's my problem? Everybody that knows me will tell you, yeah, I don't agree with her sometimes and what she, but she's fucking right to her core. And for me, that doesn't matter anymore because I just do that for myself. And I hope that other people follow suit too, because this shit's not going to get better. And for those of us who do have kids, I hate saying this because it sounds like a generic boomer thing. Well, think about the future. I actually do think about the future generations. I think about my daughter who's 20. In 10 years, she'll be 30. What's life going to be like for her? Seriously, because both of my daughters, I have a 3-year-old and a 20-year-old girls. They both have less rights than I did at their ages. Like, that's in modern Western society. That makes me fucking think. And nobody's talking about that anymore. It's not the trend. Where's Balenciaga? Where's Roe versus Wade? How come we're not talking about abortion anymore? Why are we not talking about these things? Whoa, fucking, there's this new fidget spinner that's trending. Let's go, everybody look at that. That's why. So for me personally, I've disconnected from a lot of this shit out of necessity and out of, because it's very expensive here in Australia, but I also feel grateful that I disconnected because I was bitching when I first moved here. There's no Starbucks. There's no Amazon. This is fucking backwoods because Australia feels backwoods. It's like it was a time warp, but it was like coming back into the 90s. And I was not liking it because I was used to 2-hour delivery and I was used to, having access to food downtown in Sacramento. Sacramento is great for the food scene, man. At least it was. I don't know what the fuck's going on these days because everything's goofy and backwards. But in terms of working at restaurants and eating at just the most awesome, bomb-ass, authentic food from different cultures and just its own, oh man, Sacramento is where it's at. And that shit was like kind of pricey, but not really. Like you could still feed a family for $40. Now you can't. There's no way. I don't eat McDonald's. I've had McDonald's here a couple times. But for me and my my husband, myself, and the two older kids without a drink, it would be $70 to eat at what's equivalent to Burger King. It's called Hungry Jack's here, or even McDonald's. It's super crazy for a meal, like not even getting a drink. What the fuck are we doing? Like McDonald's, and apparently McDonald's is really expensive in America too, because I see things and I've heard people, it's like these companies are losing their minds. We fucking ate that shit as a treat as a kid, and because it was cheap. When I was a young adult, I ate that shit because you can eat for fucking $3, because that's all I've had at times. I've been there, everybody has. That's stupid that a lot of people have even known what that's like, to have to go and look for change between your couch cushions. I'm not stressing on it. I look back and I'm like, I didn't even stress back then. I was like used to that shit. I was used to living like that in young adulthood, like where you have nothing yet you're working your ass off and you're fucking exhausted. So now that we're in this situation, we're still doing the same. We just have nicer things. We just have nicer things around, and we have more technology, and we're willing to put our fucking $1,000 phone on a payment plan. And then when that burns out in 2 years, we have to get another one. Like that system, and I smartphones are really needed. These are double-edged swords themselves. It's like, it's almost like the system's like, okay, you have free will. We'll give you the illusion of having free will and see what you do with it. And we've all self-destructed. We're not what we're supposed to be as human beings. Because as human beings, we're supposed to be very powerful. And I'm telling you, man, just from this practice, infernals don't just sprinkle down magic on you and, oh, they bless me. They just open your eyes and make you realize what you are. That's it. I'm no powerful than anybody else if they have that potential. I know. I see power. I see people who are spiritually open. I get it. I know when somebody's not. I can see your insecurities. I'm not, it's not because of a thing. It's like, I can see that. I can see what people struggle with. I almost like can read them. And I'm not even trying to read them. You know, when you start trying to read people, it's not even that. It's like somebody can pass their energy, and I almost know like what they're going through. And it's, a lot of it is coming back to me because I'm getting disconnected from this sort of stuff. It's to the point for me where when I'm out shopping or running errands or at the store, I really have this vortex around me of protection in it. And it's almost like I can't hear what's going on. You know what I mean? But I can see it in my bubble. And I'm not trying to say that people need to stay in their bubble. I'm saying this system is really broke. Humans are really, really broken down. We're not in nature. And the type of nature that's in our fucking fabricated environments, our Truman Show environments, are all trees that have no energy. It's certain plants. Seriously, if you're in like a cookie cutter area, do you feel the energy from those bushes that are just basic fucking bitch bushes? You don't. Because some things are dead in energy because that needs to exist. You know, and it's just really, I'm not saying that some fucking witch is going, we're going to pick these trees to fuck up the people. It's not that. It's just like, there's no essence to it. It used to be like that, where they would decorate with more lavender, and but then they figured out those are too prosperous. Rosemary is too prosperous in so many areas. So when we see rosemary in a fucking cookie cutter environment, we're like, rosemary, you know, and you want to go and smell it and go see it. But some busted ass looking fucking just dumb bush that has no purpose and has nothing to it, no medicinal value, no nothing, no flowers, nothing. It's just like fucking there. You're like, fuck that shit. You know, like that's what they do. So I really encourage people to garden. And I know people are like, I don't have space. Get a fucking plant if you need to. If you don't have any means to be in nature, just get a house plant and just learn how to take care of one plant. And if you can't take care of one plant, then we need to really ask ourselves what the fuck is going on. Because it's really not hard. It's just, it is hard though, because we're in here. It is hard. I get it. I don't want to sound like that. I'm just frustrated because I'm breaking out of that mindset, and I'm like, fuck, man. I thought so much shit was hard that really wasn't. It was just, we're sedated. We're really sedated and seduced by this. So ground, man. Get into nature and ground. If you're doing a lot of energy work and you're getting into witchcraft, or you're doing it for this, ground yourself, because I will be completely siphoned just from my day And from spiritual stuff too, there's no way I can handle that. So being outside helps me a lot. And just even if all it is going outside barefoot for like 5 minutes, just stand there. Just take your shoes off and stand on the dirt. Make like if especially if it's rich, good, earthy dirt, like good fresh soil full of life, just stand on it. And it's like a charging pad. It drains all of the shit out of you. It really does. And I will feel better. I feel a bit more energized. I feel like calibrated. Because there are times where I feel just siphoned and I'm just like, oh man, I've had a day and I'm just really not doing good. And I'll just stand outside for a few minutes and then you just kind of look around, look at the clouds, get your fucking phone away from you and don't think about bullshit. Let the thoughts kind of pass and you'll feel better. You will. And then go have a cup of tea or coffee or whatever it is that makes you feel happy. Go eat a yummy snack and then feel good. It always feels good. So I'm going to leave it at that because I think I've just reiterated myself this whole episode. Thank you for hanging out with me today, and I hope you have an amazing day. Like and subscribe and do this and do that. And I'm still trying to catch up on the Clips channel. I'm getting there slowly but surely. So thank you guys for all of the support. I'll talk to you soon.